It started with a subject line, "A little help?" That's how she always did it, smiling while setting the house on fire. I was sitting in my home office in Dayton, snow tapping the window, when the email came in from Donna, my stepmother. Just those 3 words. Innocent enough to lull you. Loaded enough to make my stomach turn. Inside was the usual guilt cocktail. Mallory's wedding is going to be such a special day for the family. She's dreamed of this since she was a little girl. We're just a bit stretched right now, and you've always been so responsible. Translation: open your wallet. Let me back up. I am Pinjishonte Drugi, systems analyst. Pretty good at tuning things out. I work with servers and networks, not people. That's not an accident. I like structure, logic. I like things that respond to input. My family never did. Donna married my dad when I was 10. My real mom died when I was 6, and Donna came in like a warm front. Everyone praised how she stepped up, but to me, she always felt like a substitute teacher who stayed too long. Polite, present, but never mind. Mallory's her daughter. My stepsister. We're almost 20 years apart. I barely remember her as a baby. She was always the center of everything. Every birthday was an event. Every problem, a crisis. And I was the background noise. The extra. The older half-brother people forgot to mention. We haven't spoken in years. I didn't get a call when she got engaged. No holiday texts. Nothing. But now I'm supposed to help pay for the wedding? I read the email twice before replying. I kept it polite. Said I was happy for Mallory, but I wasn't in a position to contribute financially. I said it firmly, without apology. It took me 20 minutes to hit send. 3 hours later, I saw her first Facebook post. It didn't mention me by name, but it didn't need to. Just a blurry photo of Mallory holding a wedding binder with the caption, "Some people talk about family until it's time to show up." Woman shrugging. That night, Donna replied. Not to me. To everyone else. She started calling cousins. Sent messages to people I hadn't heard from in years. I got a text from my dad's brother saying, "I thought you were better than this." Better than what? This is how it always starts. A quiet ask. A polite refusal. Then the fire. And I'm the one who's supposed to put it out. I wasn't surprised when the calls started. What had surprised me was how fast people took sides, and not mine. Cousin Brenda messaged me with, "I know money's tight for everyone, but it's Mallory's wedding. You're the oldest." As if that meant something. As if that made me responsible. Another cousin just sent a thumbs down emoji under a picture of my dog. No words. Just that. I hadn't seen most of these people in years. Some hadn't spoken to me since my dad's funeral. But here they were now, chiming in like they'd been in my life all along. And every message had the same tone: guilt, pity, passive aggression. Like I'd broken some family code by saying no. I asked myself 100 times, did I? Was I too cold? Too quick to decline? But I knew if I'd said yes, it wouldn't have stopped there. Donna would have added more: flowers, dress alterations, the cake. Once you give, you become the wedding fund. And I'm not a fund. I'm a person. Still, I couldn't shake the old feeling. That old role. Background brother. Wallet with a heartbeat. It's hard to explain to people who didn't grow up like that. It's not overt abuse. It's more like being wallpaper. You're there. You hear everything. But no one looks directly at you. No one asks what you want. I remember once, I was 15, Mallory was maybe 2. I got in straight A's, like actually perfect grades. Donna glanced at my report card, smiled, and said, "That's nice, honey," before walking out of the room because Mallory started crying in the other. That was my life. That's nice, honey. And the thing is, I never even hated them for it. Not then. I just accepted it. Figured that's how blended families worked. I kept my head down. Worked. Saved. Lived. It took me until my 40s to realize that being useful isn't the same as being loved. When Elena came into my life, she was the first person who ever looked at me and didn't expect anything. No favors, no handouts, no emotional labor. Just me. She said once, "You're easy to be around." I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. So yeah, saying no to Donna felt like betrayal at first. Not to them. To some part of me that thought if I kept being helpful, maybe I'd finally be seen. But here's the thing. When someone only calls you when they need something, they're not family. They're collectors. And collectors get angry when the payments stop. I didn't post that photo to make a statement. Honestly, we weren't even thinking about anyone else. Elena and I had just gotten back from a weekend in Traverse City. Nothing fancy, just a rented cabin, some long walks by the lake, those awful ceramic mugs from the diner where the coffee's always too bitter. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of peace that makes you realize how loud your life has been. I asked her after breakfast. No ring box, no speech. Just looked at her and said, "I want to keep doing this." She looked up, smiled, and said, "Took you long enough." That was us. Simple. No spectacle. That night, we took a photo on the deck. My arm around her shoulder, Lake Michigan behind us, the sky turning pink. I uploaded it to Facebook with a short caption. She said yes. Nothing more. I went to bed feeling light. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen texts, mostly from people I hadn't heard from in years. The first one I opened just said, "Wow. Seriously?" I didn't know what they meant until I saw Mallory's post. It was a picture of her holding a wedding dress in a boutique mirror. The caption said, "When people try to steal your moment, but you remember who the real bride is, nail polish sparkles." The timing wasn't subtle. Then came Donna. Some people really can't stand not being the center of attention, even for one weekend. Comments rolled in. "So rude. I can't believe your own family would do this." Unbelievable timing. No names. Just poison in small doses. I didn't respond. I thought, maybe if I ignore it, it'll pass. Maybe they just needed a vent. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't even about me. But then I saw it. A cousin had commented under Mallory's post. "Wait, didn't Mark get engaged yesterday?" She replied, "Exactly." And there it was. No more guessing. I felt a coldness settle in my chest. Not anger. Just that dull, hollow kind of realization, oh, they really hate me that much. Elena noticed before I said anything. She was scrolling through her phone and looked up at me. "Is your stepsister always like this?" I just nodded. I didn't have the energy to explain the years that led here. You spend your whole life trying not to take up space, and the moment you claim even a sliver of joy, they call it theft. The calls didn't stop. They just got weirder. At first, it was the usual guilt tactics. Cousin Brenda again, saying I should apologize to Mallory for the poor timing. Timing? Like I was supposed to call ahead and ask permission to propose? Then came a message from some girl I didn't even know, apparently Mallory's friend from college, saying, "You've really hurt her spirit." I didn't even answer. What could I say? Sorry I live my life without checking your calendar. Then came the fake accounts. Profiles with no pictures, no friends, just messages like, "Family isn't supposed to be selfish." Another one said, "You'll regret this when you're alone." I started blocking them, but every time I blocked one, two more popped up. Elena wanted to delete her social media altogether. I told her she didn't have to. I just wanted to wait it out. "They'll get bored," I said, but they didn't. One night, I came home and found Elena standing in the kitchen, her phone in one hand, glass of wine in the other. She didn't say anything right away, just handed me her phone. It was a screenshot of Mallory's latest Instagram story. A close-up of her face, fake crying into the camera. The caption read, "Some people just want to destroy your happiest moments. Even people who share your blood." Thousands of views. Hundreds of comments. Strangers telling her to cut him out and stand strong. People who didn't even know me calling me toxic, jealous, emotionally abusive. I don't know why, but that's the one that hit me hardest. The word abusive. I've spent my whole life being quiet, careful, trying not to make waves. If I could just stay helpful enough, useful enough, I thought maybe I'd avoid being the problem. But now I was the villain in her story. And it didn't matter that none of it was true. She said it. So now it was real to everyone else. Elena asked me if I wanted to post something. Set the record straight. I almost did. I wrote something, deleted it, wrote it again. But in the end, I didn't post anything. Because if someone's already decided you're the bad guy, explaining yourself just confirms it in their mind. Instead, I turned off my phone and sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't feel angry, just tired. Really, really tired. I should have known they'd be there. Aunt Carol invited us to a barbecue. Nothing formal. Just family, food, and folding chairs in her backyard. She texted, said it'd be good to see me, that everyone was cooling off now. I asked her, point blank, if Donna or Mallory would be there. She hesitated, then said, "I think they're stopping by, but it'll be fine." I should have said no, but I didn't want to hide. I was tired of acting like I'd done something wrong. So I said sure. Elena gave me a look when I told her. Not angry, just that quiet kind of warning you can feel in your stomach. We brought a pie. One of those store-bought ones with a plastic window, because I didn't have the energy to pretend. The backyard was packed. Kids with juice boxes, men by the grill, the familiar hum of family small talk. For a second, I thought maybe it really would be okay. Then I saw Mallory. She was holding court near the patio table, laughing too loud, already dressed like it was a reception. White dress, full makeup, camera ready. Donna stood nearby, sipping something from a wine glass and scanning the crowd like a politician. We locked eyes. I nodded once. She didn't nod back. Elena squeezed my hand, whispered, "You good?" I lied. "Yeah." We found a couple of seats near the fence, and kept to ourselves. A few relatives came over, small talk, the usual. I try not to look in their direction, but I could feel it like heat. The kind of tension you don't hear, but your body registers anyway. It didn't blow up until the photo. Someone, a cousin's wife, came around with a phone, snapping candids for Facebook. She got to us and said, "Smile." We did. Nothing big. Just a photo. 10 minutes later, Mallory stood up, tapped her glass, and said she had something to say. I already knew what was coming. She started talking about family and support, and how some people only show up when it makes them look good. Her voice was calm, rehearsed. Donna stood behind her, nodding like a stage mom. I didn't move. I didn't say a word. Then she turned toward us. Full eye contact. Some people are here just to save face. But real love shows up when it counts. Silence. I stood up slowly, took Elena's hand, and we walked out. No yelling. No scene. Just silence. That was the last time I saw either of them. We didn't talk on the drive home. Windows cracked just enough to let the spring air in, radio off. Nothing but the hum of tires and the occasional bump in the road. Elena held my hand for a while, then let go, folding her arms like she was holding something in. We got home. She went straight to the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen, turned the light off, and leaned against the counter in the dark. 15 minutes passed. Then I heard her voice, low, flat. "Why do you let them do this to you?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did, and it felt pathetic. She walked in, sat down at the table, didn't touch me, didn't raise her voice. Just looked tired. She said, "You act like you're not allowed to be angry. Like you deserve this." I told her it's just easier not to fight them. That maybe they'd stop if I didn't react. She said, "Has that ever worked?" And there it was. It hadn't. Not once. They just kept taking more. My silence, my money, my name. And when I didn't give enough, they twisted the story and handed it back to me like a weapon. I stood there, staring at the floor like a kid who got caught lying. And I felt small. Not because of what she said, but because it was true. I'd spent my entire adult life letting people rewrite me. As long as they were smiling, I told myself it was okay. If they were calm, if they didn't yell, then I'd take the hit. Play the role. The quiet brother. The reasonable one. The one who never caused problems. And it never once got me what I wanted. Respect. Peace. A place at the table. Elena didn't say anything else. She just stood up, kissed my forehead, and went to bed. I stayed in the dark. And for the first time, I didn't feel numb. I felt pissed. And that scared me. Because part of me, some Barry part, liked it. I deleted them the next morning. No ceremony. No dramatic post. Just opened my contacts, scrolled through names I didn't like looking at, and hit block. One by one. Donna. Mallory. 3 cousins. That woman who sent the DM about me being emotionally dangerous. Gone. Then I opened Facebook. I didn't deactivate, just quietly removed about 40 people. No warning. No explanation. Just clean house. Elena watched from the couch. She didn't say anything. Just nodded once, like she'd been waiting for me to do it and didn't want to break the moment. Funny how heavy silence can be when it's the right kind. I expected guilt, or maybe relief. But what I felt most was clean. Like clearing out an old closet you never realized smelled like mildew. For the next few days, there were no messages. No fake accounts. No random calls. It was quiet. Really quiet. I caught myself checking, like some part of me still needed the noise. Still expected to be hurt. But it didn't come. And that's when I realized something I hadn't dared admit before. They needed me more than I ever needed them. Not because they loved me. Not because I mattered. But because I played a role. I was useful. The scapegoat. The quiet, steady one who always came through. Just enough to feel included. Never enough to challenge their story. Without me, there was no one to blame. No one to play villain. I started sleeping better. Started eating better, too. Nothing big. Just fewer knots in my stomach when I made breakfast. Elena and I walked more. No talking. Just walking. One evening she said, "You seem lighter." I didn't answer. I just took her hand. She squeezed it and added, "Whatever happens next, you don't owe them anything." I nodded. And for once, I believed it. We got married in October. Nothing fancy. Small venue by the lake in Michigan. Leaves turning gold and red like the whole world decided to soften for us. 20 guests, friends, coworkers, a couple of neighbors. No family. Not by accident. We didn't do speeches. Didn't have a DJ. Just a Bluetooth speaker, a few playlists, and a table full of food we actually liked. Elena wore a navy dress. I wore the same suit I used for a job interview 10 years ago. Still fit, barely. When we exchanged vows, I kept mine simple. I told her, "You never asked me to be anything but who I already was." That's what I'm holding on to. She smiled. wiped her eyes, and said, "That's all I ever needed." And that was it. No drama, no performance, just us. Later that night, my coworker Dan, guy from IT, the one who always brings donuts no one likes, gave a short toast. He said, "Some people think family is where you come from, but sometimes it's where you're finally allowed to rest." Everyone raised their glass. I didn't cry, but something in me let go. Not loudly, just finally. There's a picture from that night. Me and Elena, arms around each other, her head against mine. It's not perfect, we're a little blurry, and someone's thumb is half over the lens, but it's my favorite photo. Because we weren't performing for anyone. We were just there, alive, unbothered. And it felt like the first honest moment I'd had in years. A few months later, I ran into my old coworker Rachel at a gas station. We chatted for a minute. How's married life? Still working from home? Whether small talk. Then she said, "Hey, did you hear what happened with Mallory?" I froze for a second. That name still hit like static in my ears. "No," I said. She shifted awkwardly. "Oh, I guess the wedding didn't stick." She filed for annulment 2 months in. I nodded like I didn't care, like I hadn't already guessed. Rachel kept going. "People are saying he cheated. Twice. First with a girl from his gym, then someone she worked with. Her mom's losing it." I said, "That's rough." It was the most neutral thing I could manage. Back in the car, I sat for a while before turning the key. I didn't feel joy, not even vindication, just a strange emptiness, like a balloon deflating in slow motion. Later that week, I got a message from a distant cousin, one of the few I hadn't blocked. It said, "Not that you care, but Donna's been telling everyone you cursed the marriage. She says you poisoned the energy." I didn't reply, because there's nothing to say to that kind of logic. You become the villain, and then no matter what happens, it's your fault. Her marriage failed? My fault. The weather sucked that day? Probably me. I showed Elena the message. She didn't even frown, just sighed and said, "Let them stay mad. That's all they have." She was right. Some people hold on to anger like it's the last piece of furniture in a burning house. They scream from the window, but they won't jump, won't save themselves. They'd rather burn. And I won't stand there anymore, begging them to come out. I've done my part. I left the house, and I'm not going back. Holidays came and went. We spent Thanksgiving with Elena's co-worker and her wife. Potluck style, too much wine, a cat that wouldn't stop trying to get on the table. It felt strange at first, being surrounded by people who weren't family, but didn't feel like strangers either. There was no tension, no performance, just people being people. At one point, I caught myself waiting for a dig, a backhanded comment, some little jab disguised as a joke, but never came. Christmas was even quieter, just me and Elena, slow cooking something that took too long and watching bad holiday movies. I forgot to get batteries for one of her gifts, and she laughed so hard she cried. Not because it was funny, because it was real, and that's what stuck with me. I didn't hear from Donna. Not a call, not a card, not a passive-aggressive fruit basket. And I didn't miss it. That surprised me. For years, I told myself that despite everything, I still wanted a connection. That maybe someday it would get better. That we'd all grow up, get over it, move on. But I think I finally realized something. You can't build peace on someone else's denial. They never saw me. Not really. I was useful, convenient, or in the way. Never enough, just as I was. And when I stopped performing, they stopped pretending. Fine. Let them have their version of the story. Let them sit in their echo chamber and clink glasses over the villain they created. I don't care, because my silence isn't an apology. It's protection, and I intend to keep it. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear her voice. Not the real one. Not Mallory yelling or Donna whispering guilt into the corners of a room. It's more like a version of them that lives inside me. The one that says, "You could have just paid. It wouldn't have killed you." It was her big day. And for a second, just a second, I believe it. I imagine the alternate version of everything. I say yes to Donna. I send a check. I smile at the photos. I stand in the background of Mallory's wedding, quiet, invisible, but supportive. The family praises me. Donna gives a speech. I'm called selfless by people who haven't asked how I'm doing in a decade. And it all feels good for about 5 minutes. Then I remember what comes after. The next ask, the next manipulation, the next lie whispered just loud enough for others to believe. And I realize what I actually gave them. Time, energy, silence, pieces of myself I kept offering up, hoping maybe this time it would be enough. I didn't know the money. I'd already paid, with years of being the quiet one, the forgiving one, the adult in the room full of tantrums. The only thing I kept from them was the last part of me that still had boundaries. The part that finally stood up and said, "Enough." They call that betrayal. I call it survival. Last week, I deleted the folder on my computer labeled Family. It had old scanned photos, emails, birthday invites I never attended. I didn't even open it. Just hovered, clicked delete, and emptied the trash. I thought maybe I'd feel guilty. I didn't. I felt still. Not happy. Not sad. Just still. Like a room after a storm passes. Nothing moves. Nothing breaks. It just waits for whatever comes next. Elena came in, saw the screen, and asked what I was doing. Making space, I said. She kissed the top of my head, didn't ask anything else. And maybe that's the difference. They demanded everything and noticed nothing. She notices everything and asks for nothing. So here's what I know now. Letting go isn't some grand moment. It's not a scene. It's not a speech. It's a decision you make in the quiet. Again and again. And it's worth it. Every time.